It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi there, I'm Gary Shorman, and this is the Forum on Eagle Television. Great to have you watching along. Our forum is brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest is Melissa Dixon, and Melissa is Executive Director of the Convention and Visitor Bureau here in Hayes. And Melissa, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me back again.
It's exciting to do this. You were here about a year and a half ago. You'd first started your job, and now a year and a half later, you're still at it. How's it going?
It's wonderful. I love it. I have a great staff, and we're getting to do really great things and see effects out in the community.
You know, you came here from Mississippi.
Right.
And we were talking before the show, there's some differences between Mississippi and here. What are the main ones?
Humidity, I would say. This last week, you can really tell the difference in humidity. I describe Mississippi as a rainforest jungle full of snakes and critters, and then we don't have that here.
And that's good for convention and visitors, right?
Yes,
for that part of things. Well, it's good to have you here because I know there's some great programs that are out there that are happening. But one thing that was really cool, a few weeks ago, you got named to the State Board of Travel and Tourism. How did that all come about?
Well, there's an organization, Teac, which stands for Travel Industry Association of Kansas. And I've been going to meetings because we're a member. The Hayes CVB, Convention Visitors Bureau, is a member of that organization. So I've been going and getting to know the people that are on the different committees, but just meeting my counterparts around the state and figuring out what do they do? They have a lot of challenges that are similar to ours, and how are they dealing with those? Teac has a big legislative arm. I didn't realize that when some legislation is coming up that may or may not have an impact on tourism, Teac speaks up and says, this could affect us. And so we get information on that and talk to our legislators about it.
And when you do that, you meet up with those others around here. What do you see happening around the state? Because sometimes, you know, there's tourism states. Kansas has some cool things, but how does that association deal with that? Because you want people to come to Hayes.
Yes.
Somebody else may want someone to come to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that?
Absolutely. Well, we do things together that we couldn't have done alone, which I think is the purpose of Teac. One example is they have an event called Destination State House, where we all go to Topeka and we meet with our legislators and we kind of wine them, dine them, and tell them what's important to us. And my question was, what legislation is tourism related? Well, we've got the Kansas Amusement Ride Act that is going on now due to a tragedy last year. And we're seeing how does that ripple effect affect even us in Hayes with our small aquatic park? It has. We've had to get a lot of certifications that we didn't have before. And another one is the Adoption Protection Act, which I think that doesn't affect me or my office or tourism. Well, if the gist of the article is no, an adoption agency can say no to anyone based on their religious freedoms. Well, of course I support that. But all of a sudden, if they say no to a certain group or certain religion, all of a sudden it looks like discrimination. And then all of a sudden Kansas is placed on a travel ban list. And so it's these unintended consequences that we want to be sure legislators know about.
You know, that's what a lot of people out watching probably don't understand the depth of when you talk about. It just thinks, okay, let's invite people to come to town and find ways to build new hotels. But some of that goes on, and you're right, the perception of where we are. We already have, I'll say, an uphill, you know, the Cowboys and Indians are still out here and tornadoes are around.
Yes.
You know, people say, well, how does that work? So it's complicated enough without all these other things, but you end up dealing with that not only statewide, but here in Hayes as well.
Things you wouldn't even think about.
Tell me about your team.
We have a fantastic team. Bobby Pfeiffer is our administrative assistant. She takes care of so much of our hospitality logistics. When a group comes to town for, say, a sports tournament, maybe they're at Gross and they're bringing 60 schools for basketball tournament. She takes care of bidding out the food, and we feed those coaches, and we give them laptop bags with granola bars and water.
No small job doing that.
We make sure they have a wonderful time, and they want to definitely bring their tournament back to Hayes. So Bobby is amazing with making sure all that goes off without a hitch. She's been with CVB for, I believe, 10 years. Janet Kuhn is our convention and sales manager. She takes care of those groups as well as they're blocking off their hotel rooms. We've got a big convention coming in, the American Historical Society of Germans from Russia.
Really?
And so they're pretty pumped to come to Hayes because we have a huge German population. And so she's taking care of getting their church tours lined up, their transportation lined up to make sure they have a fabulous time. She's been at the CVB about 15 years. Brandon Cooley, you may know, is our new marketing manager, and he's taking care of our advertising, print, web, social media, finding places that we might not be that we need to be, taking care of video, photos, all that good stuff that is essential to marketing Hayes to our area.
Well, that's a good team, and it gives you some resources too, because when you look at going out, one, you have to tell the story in Hayes, but two, how do you have the people to get that done? You mentioned...
I got one more lady at the front desk. Annette Barber is our receptionist.
We would have been in trouble had we forgot Annette.
Sometimes people come in and they just want to tell you about the road trip they're taking, and they just want to talk for 20 minutes, and she takes care of them no matter what they need.
Well, you have a lot of things, and there's tournaments and teams. We notice, those of us that live here every day, notice when these teams show up in big events, because whether it be soccer, basketball, those things, the number of people it brings to town is just really great for our economy.
It is.
What's out there? Are there some fun, big statewide things that you're working on? Anything in particular?
Let me see. We're always recruiting, and I think that when the new Hilton Garden Inn comes to town, it'll be a lot easier to recruit.
Now, do you have anything to do with that? How does that work with a convention center? How does that part?
Cross my fingers and hope they break ground
Sooner
soon.
better than later, right?
There's been a lot of economic development that's taken place behind the scenes that we don't have anything to do with. We hope that the land price was good for their deal, and we hope that the city signs off on all the incentives that they ask for, and then they break ground, hopefully, and then we help them fill those rooms and book them some conventions.
Well, that means more for our community as well, so that's cool.
And more work for us, but we welcome that because we have a lot of groups that we've lost because we don't have a big enough space for them to meet anymore.
One other thing that happens when people pull off interstate, they have expectations of what they see. What projects do you have dealing with Vine Street and some of the tourism that comes into town? We
have an exciting project that should go up before the end of the summer. If you've noticed on Vine Street, there's a lot of banner brackets on the light poles that are empty. We bid those out to some sign companies, and after much debate on wind and materials, we finally found somebody who says, "Oh, I can do it. Come see my banners that have been up for 6 years. The wind's not going to take them down." So, fingers crossed again, we're going to get those installed with the help of City Parks Department. And they're going to be different designs all the way from, I believe, 45th Street down to our Welcome Center at 27th. And they're going to do more than just say welcome. I want them to work harder than that. They're going to direct you to specific attractions and historic sites around town.
So many times when we travel, you're probably the same way. You pull off, and you see a town, and it looks like every other town. That helps make Hayes different. The signs that we have directing traffic makes, if you want to go out to the sports park or the sports area, how that happens. Having signs just really helps people get around. And that'll be a part of that.
I think it
will.
So
you think that'll happen this summer?
Yes.
Very cool. What else are you working on?
Gosh,
sounds like you guys are, a lot of things going on up there, I know.
We've got a fantastic part-time graphic design intern who has helped us with not only those banners, but also new billboards. So you're going to see new billboards on I-70 with new photography, just to freshen those up and be sure people know which exits to take to get here. Down the road, we are working on a restaurant promotion that'll help hotels tell people where to go. We always want to be sure our hotel property, that their staff is equipped to send people out to where they need to go.
That's the thing we'll talk about. We're going to take a break, come back and talk about, hospitality means a lot. You can have nice signs, you can have nice buildings, but if people don't treat you well, you don't want to come back. Let's talk about that a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Our guest is Melissa Dixon. She's with the Hayes Convention and Visitors Bureau. Back with more after this from Hayes Med.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum here on Eagle Television. If you have any ideas or maybe thoughts on future programs, send them to me. My email is gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also go online on Facebook. We're on Facebook under ECTV Forum. Find us there. I'd like to hear from you. Our guest is Melissa Dixon. And Melissa deals with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. She's the executive director there. Her and her team invite people to town. But you can invite people. You have great billboards. You have great signage. Great website, but if they come to town and get poor service or people that they meet don't know what's going on, that's not fun. I understand you have some things for people in town that help them to explain what's going on in the community.
Yes, well, we talked about during the break our hotel properties. We have a very special relationship with them because we are funded at the CVB by Transient Guests Tax. So that is the hotel tax that is charged to guests coming through town.
You see that when you travel places, you'll see those extra taxes put on to do that, but we have that here. That helps support what you do.
We do. It's 5% added on to your hotel bill, and we are supposed to use that to improve the visitor experience and market Hayes. So one thing we do to support our hotels is we want to be sure their frontline staff has the tools they need to answer questions when people come up. So just a small thing we do is we try to give them a top 10 things happening this month in Hayes. Just a little flyer. We've given everybody a little stand, and we run around once a month and put it in on the first of the month. So at least if their front staff doesn't know, they've got that cheat sheet they can look at when guests ask them what's going on.
You know, so many people come off the interstate and stop, water, restrooms, gas, fuel, and to eat. Having a chance to be able to tell them that story gives them a chance to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of that? Do you have numbers you keep track of people coming on and off, the number of tourists going through, bed count, all that? What's your best barometer for that?
We can track based on our transient guest tax numbers, how many visitors spent the night. It's really difficult to track who came and stayed for the day.
You have to go out and count the cars.
But I want to talk to them too.
Yeah.
Even though we might not get a hotel tax from them, we'll get their sales tax dollars if we can get them off the interstate and get them to come have a meal or come shop.
Now that's the people that come through. You also have what I call people who come in and out of town. That's the university and university students.
Those students
How do you deal with the university?
We have a specific committee called the Town and Gown Relations Committee.
What do?
They get together and we mostly compare calendars and say, what are you doing? Here's what I'm doing. Let's don't overlap our events. But there's organizations all over the country that do this. They focus on how do city and universities work together and how can they do it better. I recently went to an International Town and Gown Association conference, and there were deans and there were mayors and there were students there, all from college towns, and we all said, we all have the same struggles, and how are you dealing with it? And well, here's what I'm doing. And our students, I do see them as guests. They're here for a short time, but I want to be sure they have a great time, and in a perfect world, my goal is for them to fall in love with Hayes and live here. So that we keep Hayes growing.
Well, you know, there's so many parts of the university. There's a sporting side of that where people come to town for football games. Last year, it was just a packed house down at Lewis Field. Wasn't that a cool thing? But there's also things like the museum. We had family in town recently, and they wanted to go out to the museum. Telling those stories, that connection between the university and what happens at the Convention and Visitors Bureau is a big thing.
Yes, you'll notice 2 new billboards for the Sternberg Summer Exhibit. World of Giant Insects. So that was something we just told the museum that we said we'd love to do this for this exhibit because we know it'll bring people in. And so we just flipped 2 boards out of our inventory to those, and we'll flip them again in the fall. Probably to be Hayes, but we're always looking for ways we can support those special tourism partners.
And it's a great draw to
attractions.
keep people here,
Yeah.
so that is cool. If someone comes to town, your family in town, your office right on the corner of 27th and Vine, right?
Right across from Walgreens and Serve.
And so what does that mean? If you have an office there, should you bring a guest down and say, here's some brochures, here's some things to do?
Oh, yes. Because even if
Plus you guys are fun to hang out
oh
with.
yeah, we have a great time.
Yeah.
We have there's always food there. It seems like we have
Good day.
a great community calendar, so you can come in and say what's going on today or what's going on this weekend.
I
or
have
next
family
weekend.
coming, need to do something.
Yes,
What do I do?
We can hook you up with the bike trail maps, the events calendar, the German heritage, church
Mm-hmm.
tours, museums, attractions. All those things, but we're also a travel information center. So we have things for all over the state. So people will come in and they'll get state parks, booklets, all the different forts around the state. We have all that information as well.
Well, great. Stop by and see them. And first, congratulations on the statewide commitment for
Thank you very
Dino
much.
statewide. And thanks for all you do over the CBC.
Thank you very much.
Our guest has been Melissa Dixon. She is Executive Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Hayes. Thanks for watching the program. It's brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communication, our community connected.